Nancy Hyatt, and I'm a psychotherapist in the Washington, D.C. area, doing a number of interviews with some of my dear colleagues and friends who are experts in relational transformation and healing. And today I am delighted to introduce my dear friend and colleague, Dr. Rickie Simpson, developer of Encounter-Centered Couples Yoga, which is based on the work of our teacher, Haiti Schleifer. We met in Haiti's 3-year masterclass several years ago. And Rickie is a psychotherapist in Manassas, Virginia, and one of the lead trainers in Life Force Yoga. And today she's going to be giving us some tips on centering, clearing space, and some quick meditation, and a quick meditation on finding intention in this time of coronavirus. So welcome, Rickie.
Thank you. Thank you. It's my pleasure to be here.
Yeah, I'd love to hear some of what's helping some of your couples in this time of great anxiety and fear to ground and stay connected.
I think the first thing to do is to just find out where you are in this. And so that's why I find centering is a good place to start. And I typically will do that with all my clients, whether they be yoga therapy clients or whether they be psychotherapy clients. I'm doing an encounter-centered couples approach. So if I have them on the mat, I have the mats facing each other like that. So you have the short end over here and the short end here. Given that we are doing the physical distancing, that would have to be certainly extended. And of course, depending on how that your partner feels, yoga, physical yoga, or the asana portion of yoga, the movement and postures is probably not a good idea. But the things that I'm going to teach today actually can be done even if you feel terrible and you're in bed and coughing. So those are all things that you can share, or you can share it together. Nurturing the space in this time takes a little bit of finesse because you might actually not be in the same room, but you can hold the same energy with each other. So to center, just take a comfortable seat, somewhat seated in a straightish position, feet flat on the floor, because your feet, the soles of your feet, your pads around your lips are really the most sensitive place for humans that we would talk about here in yoga. So just taking a position of comfort and begin to notice your breath without really changing or altering it in any sort of way. Notice the soles of your feet, wiggle your toes and lift all 10 of them up, and then slowly drop them. And see if you can identify the feeling in each pad at the bottom of your feet. Find the area behind the big toe, mound, and then the area behind the pinky toe. And then notice your heel and see if you can lift up just a tiny bit on the arch. And continue to just notice the breath. And if you're feeling that you have very low energy right now, perhaps because of illness or just because this has been difficult for you, cultivate a 4-4 breath. And if you're finding that your energy is elevated, cultivate a 4-6 breath. So that would be inhale, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then just bringing the exhale down to a count of 6. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Continuing with whichever breath you've chosen, a 4-4, 4-6, whatever works for you right now. And I'd like to invite you to invite your hands into this. As I said, your fingertips are one of the most sensitive parts of your body. And say joining the thumb and the pointer finger together. It's called Yana Mudra or Chin Mudra. And experiment whether you want to put it on your lap face up or face down. So face down would be like that, face up is this way. I find that it's more grounding for me to have it face down and be able to feel all of my fingertips on my lap. So just drop it onto your lap And just notice now, feeling your middle finger on your lap, or if you have your palms up, notice your thumb on your left hand. Continue with your 4-4 or 4-6 breath. Begin to become aware of the thumb on the right hand. Start to notice the energy flow as you focus first on the thumb, left hand, right, and now finger, your pointer finger, left and right. And notice, is there anything happening, changing, altering in the breath? And without any place of judgment, just notice. The breath is the one thing that keeps us in the now. So notice the now. And now imagine something that you would like to alter or change in this moment. And see if there's a color or a shape, and without judgment to what shows up. And breathe into that. And now imagine something with that situation that is like the complete opposite. Fantastic, even, possibility. And imagine a color and a shape. And trust whatever shows up. And if nothing shows up, trust that too. And now going back first to the thing you first thought of that was there in the space. Color and shape. And now switch back to the other, more fantastical thing. Color, shape. And go back and forth and see if perhaps a space arises for something in the middle. Different, new, color, shape. Take an inhale to that and an exhale. And in this new place, does an intention arise for your day, this day? Infusing that with your breath, bring your right hand to your heart and your left hand over it. This is called Garuda Mudra. And gently rock your arm and the intention that may have arisen. Inhale, exhale. Notice your own heartbeat. That's yours. Steady, solid. And no matter what else is going on around you, that is sure. And when you're ready, bring your eyes to the horizon, dropping the hands, taking a breath in and a falling breath out. What do you notice?
Ah, how grateful I am. Walk me through that. And I have to say, and I hope you can't hear my son's loud music in the background, but I was very aware of my anxiety rising that, oh, I think people aren't hearing this. And then I was holding both the tension of the noise and also the wish that he'd turn it off without me having to go out.
Say anything.
And it just miraculously stopped. So yeah, so it's very, very nice to be walked through this. And I'm noticing my nervous system ground more in this present moment.
So the easiest way to hack into the nervous system is to breathe in and out through the nose. because by doing that, it's not that when you start to breathe out through the mouth, it's like you're being chased by predators. So you're activating the nervous system to say all is well, because you're not going to be breathing in and out through your nose, especially in a long extended breath, if you're being chased by a lion. Those two are incompatible. So that's wired in us. Being able to identify the both and is the non-dual approach, which is a very yogic approach. Cultivate the opposites. When you're feeling something and you're not content with it, cultivate the opposite. Any third thing arise for you?
Well, what arose and what you're saying now is this cultivating the both, feeling both, given what we've learned through the years about memory reconsolidation, where it is it's sort of the transmuting, it's taking the fear, holding the fear in one hand and holding the hope or the maybe not the hope, but what we want to feel in that moment, and juxtaposing them is where I have discovered in my personal work and in my clinical work where transformation can happen, because something maybe you could even speak to what happens at that synaptic level in the brain, where we, by holding these two, can actually change our old learnings, or what I call software programs.
Yes. So everything that happens to us, we remember. I'm going to go put on my coherence therapy hat here versus my certified yoga therapist hat. The idea of this comes certainly from the work of Bruce Ecker, Sarah Bridges, Robin Tissick, the coherence therapy crowd that we love very much. The idea that things happen to us, and so we make very global decisions at a very young age typically, and we don't remember that we've made those decisions, and yet we act as if those things are true. So it's like having extra apps running when you have an iPhone, and you're like, gosh, this is not running very fast, and then you open up how many apps you have running, and you have 30 apps, and you're like, oh, well, that's why. So this is like an app that's just running, and but you're not aware that it's running. And so every time you come something close to it, you're going to react as if. And so these are what we call symptoms. And so that would be, for example, anxiety or procrastination or something like that. So the idea here is, okay, so why is that a necessary thing? What makes that necessary? So we make friends, we sympathize with how difficult it is for the person, but then we make friends with the symptom. And we do what we can to see, well, what happens if that isn't there? If you don't, let's say, anxiety about your son, like why is that the choice? I mean, it certainly makes sense. Symptoms often make sense. You're trying to do a podcast and your kid's running his music, that makes sense. But is anxiety what you choose frequently? And if that's the case, it's a symptom. If it's causing you difficulty, then we look at, okay, so let's imagine that you're doing a podcast and your son is blaring, his Imagine Dragons music or whatever he's playing, and you don't feel anxious. And we look for what makes that symptom necessary. Once you figure that out, you make that overt. No longer an app that's operating in secret. And then you look for, well, what could be also true as well? And you put those two together, it has to be in the same field of vision. The brain will then become, have the ability to be destabilized enough with a juxtaposition in the same field of vision. So, i.e., I'm always out of control, but then you look at all these things where, in fact, you're not always out of control. And you put those two together, and only one can be true. If one is true and the other is not true, if that one's true, then only one can be true. And so the synapses actually rewrites that. And that's where you have that transformation where you used to really feel one way, and now you don't feel that way about it anymore. And I think about, I used to always feel when I'd see someone do something new, I would be like, oh, I got to do that. I never understood my like push. And you know me, I do like 1,000 things, but I never understood why I did that.
Mm.
I came to the understanding it was because when I was little, there was a child before me who had died. And so I really felt strongly at a young age that I hadn't only lived my life, but somebody else's as well. When that came to my awareness that I can't live my life in somebody else, both can't be true. There's no way I can live somebody else's life and live my own life. Once I realized that, then when those other options came up, or all these other things that people do, like you do podcasts, the old Rickie would have then figured out how to do a podcast too, like interview podcasts. But now I have that option to make the choice. I have a pivot into agency. I'm like, okay, so do I want to do that? No. Toby, that was my sister's name. Toby, do you want to do that? Even if it's a yes, she's not living. So I don't have to do it anymore. There's not that have to. The push was the have to. And until I knew why I had that, I couldn't make a choice to not do that. And my life very much became more simple.
Well, thank you for sharing how you have processed that in your own life. And because I think now is a time when couples, families are getting triggered by lots of things. And they also now have this opportunity of time. There's not much else we're doing to look at what their triggers are, or what those old, what you said, apps are that are running. This is a time to actually look at these. And I don't mean to take us away from where we were. We'll go back to how you integrate your life yoga and practices into the now. But I'm glad we segued here because it really brings things home.
Yeah, so if our mentor Heidi says that if you get angry about something more than twice, it's more about you and then your partner. And that's a good place to go looking for the apps.
The apps.
So why in the world do I get mad when my husband, who's an engineer, an excellent engineer, why he locks the door and I'm coming home at night? Why does that make me so angry when I go to reach for the door and it's locked? And so, okay, so why is that? Because that's kind of stupid. I mean, why would that? But it was like something that I realized, well, I was a latchkey kid who couldn't keep a key. So every time I went to put it in and so I realized the app that was running is, I'm not always locked out from my home. Because the truth of the matter is, that's not a true statement. Because he's inside, he can unlock the door. But when I was little, there was nobody inside. Point of desperation. So I'm sharing these things to make it real, that we all have something that you go, all right, I just got mad about that. How come? And I think one of the good things to do in that case, to segue back, is really to go through, from a yogic perspective, what they call them the koshas, the 5 layers. Really helps to identify that. So again, I do a lot of couples yoga, but a lot of yoga is done not in the pose of whatever pose you want, warrior, whatever. It's actually the other things like pratyahara, which is that inward focus of looking at yourself and like, why is that? Because the body is only just one piece of it. It's also the body-mind. It's the whole thing. And from like I said, a yogic point of view, they have a very nice way of like defining that. And I think it's really helpful. So if I may, I'll bring you through a koshic intention.
Please.
So again, you just take a deep breath in and just let it out. My Phoenix rising roots, we can call that just a falling out breath. And then now cultivating the breath in and out through the nose. And just begin to notice, how is my body feeling today? So that would be Anamana Kosha. That would be the body, the koshic body of the body. And just notice, like, is there any like tweaks? You know, like I'm a cyclist, so there's always something that's like tweaked. So just begin to notice, is there any part in the body that, you know, is a little bit something? And send the breath there. Infuse that area with your breath. Let it know that the breath is there. The breath is now. And now, as timely as how is my breathing? Are there places where the breath is getting stuck? And can I use the body to help in that way? For example, if I feel like I'm not infusing breath down deep enough, I can lean against the chair so I can feel my back body. 60% of your lung tissue is in the back, not in the front. So using the body and the sensation to feel the breath, infusing the body. And then also notice what your energy is today. That's pranamana kosha, so that's your breath body. Now, inviting, what are the thoughts and emotions present right now? This Manamaya kosha. Is there something that I'm serving tea and crumpets to that I might not want to right now? And without any sort of judgment, even asking yourself, how come I don't want to serve it tea and crumpets? Maybe it needs some attention. And can I send it something from the body or the breath? And now, are any core beliefs, those apps that might have been taking on in childhood, like taking on too much or not enough? Or saying yes when we should say no, and no when we should say yes? Is that influencing my action today? Vijna Maya Kosha. And finally, is there something that I can do specifically, that inner wisdom, to clear any sort of constrictions in my body-mind, to experience more joy or bliss or love in this space that I am 100% responsible for? What can I own to change or alter in some way to make it 10% better than it is right now? Anandamaya Kosha. And checking in with all that is above us. Inhale the breath to the crown of the head. I am. And exhale to the seat here. What did you notice?
How needed that was for my nervous system. I noticed I tapped into this feeling of distraction that one of my apps is to distract and get productive. So I'm going to do a series of interviews with my beloved colleagues and friends so that I don't have to think about the fact that we're waiting for results from my husband's COVID-19 test results, even though he's feeling fine. I tapped into that app that's running, and that I can be with the fear. I can be with the fear, and I can feel it, and that actually helps me relax.
Yeah, I like the old adage: fear is, false evidence appearing real.
Say that one more time.
False evidence appearing real.
Yes, indeed. Well, this has been incredibly helpful for me, and therefore I make the assumption it will be very helpful for many others. Is there anything else that you want to address today, or I'm hoping we can do this again when we have the test results and we can touch. Rickie's going to walk us through some actual yoga positions that couples can do together. But for now, was there anything else for today that you felt could be of help?
I think remembering that we're all in this together. We were talking earlier. I was very impressed with the people, at least I'm in Virginia, but I would assume that be true for all Americans. That not all Americans, there are some that are acting in a way that's is a deficit thinking, and that really believe that there is enough. And staying in a position of there is enough I can share, and if others feel likewise. And I think that is an American spirit thing. I really do. Where we are a very generous nation, I think we've forgotten that a little bit. And I'm hopeful that this experience will help us to reconnect with who we are really when nobody's looking, which is a generous, loving nation. And so if we each give what we don't need and get what we do need, I think we'll be okay.
I'd love for you to share the story you shared. And just before that, the prelude to that is that the nature of our friendship is we have different political beliefs. And
That's an understatement. That's okay, because you know what? I'm not going to convince you of anything else, and you know me. These are those core beliefs, what we call the mana, the Vijnana Kosha. That is who we are, and that's okay. We can still be friends.
And we can still connect, and we can still enjoy so many and learn from each other. And I love understanding your perspective. It's not that I agree with it on some things, but I certainly appreciate knowing your perspective. And so I think our connection is a testament to what not only the country, but just couples who are really on different sides of the fence, even on how to be with this virus. I'm finding that partners really are having different reactions. Some are really in a state of high anxiety, and others are a bit numb or relaxed about it. And so that we can cross the bridge to each other. Could we end with that beautiful story you just shared with me before we started our interview about leaving the supermarket and chicken?
Oh, okay. So I was picking up some chicken for my daughter, and who lives not too far away from me, and there was one chicken left, and I went to reach for it at the same time this other man did, and I looked at him and I said, "You can take it if you need it, because I have food in the freezer I can share." And he looked at me and says, "No, I really don't need it that badly. You take it." And then we looked at each other. We're like, well, if you don't need it really badly and I don't need it really badly, why don't we just leave it here and let someone who does need it really badly take it? And it was just a moment of remembering what I was just saying, that as a nation, I think we're a very generous nation. And in those little bits, as people do that, as they think about what do I need and what can I give, we will find something new that we seem to have lost along the way. Political beliefs is a perfect example. That didn't used to separate people like it does now. I mean, Tip O'Neill and Reagan were actually civil with each other. And I think that can be, this is really going to change our nation. I think not just for bad, but for the good. And the food line example is just a small piece of what I'm sure other people are experiencing at a macro level.
I'm thinking, oh, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, it's okay. What you say?
From your story, the slogan that comes to me is "Make America Connected Again."
Mm-hmm.
And I have gratitude for you today. That's what I'm sitting with, for sharing your wisdom, and I'm hoping we'll continue this.
Absolutely. Once we can find out whether Kim can be
right. Once we know that
close to you,
touch me again, and that we're not calling this social distancing. We're calling this physical
distancing. Yeah.
We're certainly very connected right now, even though we're many, many miles apart. One last thing, I'm not sure if I mentioned that in your, that I mentioned Carrie Lynn Stanton Downs.
Carrie Lynn and I have done a lot of work. We've written a chapter for grief therapy techniques on eye gazing, and also for yoga therapy today, from me to we, the transformative nature of couples yoga therapy. So she and I, from the masterclass, we were masterclass buddies too. We were all in the same little group, and we've developed this bring it to an international audience. So, so she and I have developed the Encounter-Centered Couples Yoga Therapy together. So,
And how can people find more information about that?
they can go to my website, which is not very fancy, www.rickiesimpson.com. I'm pretty creative, but not with that. I just figured I'd make it straightforward. I am doing virtual visits only now, at least until the CDC says something different. So I'll be, my practice is a monastis, but right now it's with the earphones. So, and I can do yoga therapy sessions as well, because I'm certified as a yoga therapist. So you can find me online. I'm there, and I'd love to help if people need it.
Great.
And let me know what's going on with Ken.
I will.
So,
all right, we'll stay connected. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. All right, take care now. Bye-bye.